أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and welcome to today's class. I hope you're all doing well inshallah. I hope you've all had a chance to look at this announcement that I've displayed in front of you. I will go through this announcement later on near the end of the class, so please make sure that you stick around till the end to hear more about this opportunity. Before we start, can I please remind everybody to make sure that their mics and videos are off, to make sure that there's no disturbance during the class. Jazakumullah. We will start with our prayer from the Holy Quran. Can I please ask Discipline in Charge to choose a student?
Assalamualaikum. Our first student is N1293.
Assalamu alaikum, N1293. N1293, you're unmuted. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, I'm going to ask you to start the class off with this prayer. Please repeat after me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
رب زدني
رب زدني
علما.
علما.
رب زدني علما.
رب زدني علما.
Well done, excellent. And can you read the translation for us, please?
O my Lord, increase me in knowledge.
Well done. And the reference?
Taha 115.
Excellent. Verse 115 of Surah Taha. Excellent. Well done. Jazakumullah for your help. Okay. So we will start with our class today. In today's class, we will be carrying on with exercise 22, which is on miscellaneous rules. And this was something you did yesterday as well, and we will be carrying on from that today. So you learnt yesterday a new word of alif zeda, okay? And your teacher yesterday read you out this paragraph, so I'll read it out again just to remind you all of the rule so that you can all understand it correctly and apply it today as well. Okay? So some words contain a blank alif after a maftu letter. Maftu letter, let me remind you all, is a letter with a fatha on it. So some words contain a blank alif after a maftu letter, either in between or at the end of a word. It must not be pronounced. They are called alif zeda. In English, it's called excessive alif, and are usually marked with a cross like this or a sukoon. In the exercise you did yesterday and in today, you will be looking at when there is a cross on top of the alif to indicate where there is an alif zeda. So we need to look out for the cross on the alif to indicate where the alif zeda is. Okay. The words alif zeda are also written in the margin to indicate this rule. So in the Holy Quran, sometimes the word alif zeda is written in the margin to help you realize that there is an alif zeda there, so it should not be pronounced. So there are two types of alif zeda. Okay, one is found either at the end of the word or sometimes in between a word. So in yesterday's class, you looked at examples where the alif zeda is found at the end of a word. So for example, this first line is an example of where it's found at the end. So in this word, you can see that there's an alif at the end and it has a cross on top of it, indicating that this is an alif zeda. So when you say this word, you have to make sure not to pronounce this alif. Okay? So it showed you this is how it's written, this is how you would read it, and if you are pausing at the end of the word, this is how it would affect it, and this is how you would read it if you are pausing. So we will follow the same format today as well, but instead of looking at when alif zada is found at the end of a word, we will be looking at when alif zada is found in between a word. Okay? So it might be a bit more difficult to spot because it's not at the end. You have to look in the middle and look at where the alif zada, where the alif with the cross on top is. So I'll go through an example with you to help you, and then we will ask students to come to the mic and read with us. Okay. So first example, number 1, you can see that this is a word. The alif zada is the alif that has a cross on it. Okay, and it is an alif that comes after a maftu letter, or a letter with a fatha on it. So as you can see over here, the first letter is a lam with a fatha on it. So this is lam is a maftu lam. Okay, so the next letter is an alif, but it has a cross on it. So this is the alif zada. So it means that this alif should not be pronounced. Okay, so for example, if this cross was not here, so if there was no cross on top of this alif would have been a alif madda. Okay, because the letter before it has a fatha, so this would have been an alif madda, which means we would have stretched our sound out for 2 seconds. We would have pronounced this as la. Okay, however, because of this cross, we have to understand that this is a alif zada, which means that this alif is not to be pronounced, which means that this alif is no longer an alif madda, so we only pronounce the lam with a fatha, la. 1 second only, okay? La. And then the rest, there's no other alif zada in this word, so we would pronounce the rest of this like it's written, okay? So la, I, lallahi, okay? And this is how I'm reading it, okay? So it's written like this. It's in the Holy Quran, it would be found like this. However, when you read it, you would read it like this. So la, I, lallahi. I'm ignoring this alif zada over here because it has a cross on it. So this is how I would read it. Please make sure that don't get confused. This hamza is taken over this alif. Okay, so when they've written it out, they've taken this alif and just put a hamza there instead. Still the same pronunciation. Okay, there's no difference in that. Same pronunciation, it's just written a bit differently. Okay. Now when I'm pausing, so if I'm reading this word and I wish to take a pause at the end of this word, so I'm reading this word and I want to take a pause at the end, what happens is we go back to lesson number 21 where we learnt about our pausing rules. And we learnt that when you're reading a word and you want to pause, what you do is you look at the last letter, which in this case is a ha, and you look at what sign it has on it. So this sign is a kasra. And we learnt that when a letter, like for example over here you can see that this letter, this word, the last letter has a kasra underneath it. If you want to pause, this kasra will change into a sukoon. So over here you can see that the kasra on the neem has changed into a sukoon. So the same thing will happen over here. This kasra will now become a sukoon. So I will read it as la'i lallah. Okay, so there will be a hint of the h at the end because of this sukoon. La'i lallah. Okay, so that is this first example over here. Okay, so I will now ask a student to come on the mic and we will go to the second example with them.
A1217.
Jazakumullah. A1217. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, so do you understand the term alif zada?
Not so much.
Not so much. Okay, so let's go back to our description over here. it says that some words contain a blank alif after a maftu letter. So either that alif can be found in between a word or at the end of a word. And that alif is called a alif zada, and it means that it should not be pronounced. And how do we understand which is an alif zada? Is that the alif will have a cross on it. Okay, so if you go down, let's look at this first example again. Can you tell me in this where the alif zada is? So it would be the alif with a cross on it. Can you tell me where that alif zada is? A1217, are you still there?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Can you spot where the cross is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell me, point it out? Where do you think it is?
It's next to the lam.
Yes, exactly. So next to the lam, this is an alif. Okay, and this alif has a cross on it. So that means that this is the alif zada. And alif zada means an alif that is not to be pronounced. So you don't pronounce it. Okay? So I would imagine that this alif is not even there. Okay? So I'm just going to read this as la and then carry on e, lallahi, like that. Okay? So let's go on to the next example. Over here, can you point out where the alif zada is?
Next to the fa.
Excellent. Next to the fa, you can see that this is again an alif, okay, and it has a cross on it. So that means that you would ignore this alif, okay. So you would imagine that this is not here, and you would read the word without concentrating on this alif, okay. So just to help you out, what they've done is that in the next column they've written the word out again, but ignoring the alif. So the alif is not present in this. Okay, so can you start reading from here?
Afa'in.
Excellent, well done. You did that perfectly because you did not pronounce this alif over here. Okay, afa in.
Afa'in.
Excellent. And this is how, like I said, they've just helped you out by ignoring the alif over here. Okay, so they've taken this alif out and written it, the word out again like this. So can you read this again for us?
Afa'in.
Excellent. Well done. Really good. Okay. Now we're looking at how the word changes, if it changes at all, when we want to pause at the end. Okay. So when we want to pause, what do? We look at the last letter and we look at what sign it has on it. So what sign does this noon have on it? Can you tell me?
A sukoon.
A sukoon. Excellent. And you learned in last class, in lesson number 21, that if a letter has a sukoon on it, let me find that. Okay, so if a letter has a sukoon on it at the end of it, no change will take place if the last letter of a word is sakin or it has a sukoon on it. Okay, so what that means is there will be no change in this. So you will read it as you have read so in the past. Okay, so afa in.
Afa'in.
Excellent, well done. Okay, so everybody just remember that if the last letter has a sukoon on it and you want to pause, then there will be no change and that sukoon will remain a sukoon. Okay, so excellent, well done, really, really good, mashallah, you read that really well. Can you just read this word for me again?
La il. La. 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 La ilallahi.
Well done. But just make sure when you're joining this lam to this lam, you do so with force, okay? La ilallahi.
La ilallahi.
Lallahi.
Lallahi.
Well done, okay? Because this lam has a shadda, you join the previous letter onto it with force, okay? But excellent, well done, really, really good, mashallah. Jazakumullah khair. So that was A1217. Let's move on to, can you have another student, please?
And want to N1296.
Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum. Is that N1296?
Yes.
Excellent. So do you understand the rule that we're learning today?
Kinda.
Okay, kind of. So what we're going to do is I want you to first of all, in this example, point out where the alif zada is.
It's after the ba.
Excellent. So you do understand, yeah? So after the ba, this is the alif zada because this is the alif with a cross on it. So because this alif has a cross on it, what does that mean? Does it mean that we have to pronounce it or does it mean we don't pronounce it?
We don't pronounce it.
We don't pronounce it. Excellent. So I'm going to ask you to read from here and bear in mind this alif, you shouldn't pronounce it. Okay? So read it without pronouncing this alif. So start from here, please.
Min naba'i.
Okay, well done. Nearly there. Minna.
Minna.
Yeah, so you can see that this means you have a noon and then a noon with the shadda. So you have to produce that gunna sound for 2 seconds. So hold that noon sound in your nose for 2 seconds. Minna.
Minna
Excellent. Next.
ba'i.
Okay. Just make sure that you are not stretching the E sound out for too long. Okay. This Hamza is the Hamza that you're pronouncing, right? So it only has a kasra underneath it. So E.
Ba'i.
Excellent. Well done. So first you said that this was E. Okay. I understand you might get confused because there is a ya over here as well. But because there is no sukoon on it, you don't stretch the sound out. Okay. So minna ba'i.
Minna ba'i.
Perfect. Excellent. Really, really good. Okay, mashallah. So this is how you read it. So this is basically what they've done over here is they've taken the alif out and written it like that. Okay. So one more time.
Minna ba'i.
Perfect. Excellent. Really, really good. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at what happens when we want to pause at the end of this. Okay. So we want to pause at the end of this word. So do you know how you pause? Do you know? So we said that you look at the last letter of the word and you look at the sign that it has on it. Okay. So what's the last letter in this word?
E.
Yeah. Well, what's the last letter? It's the Hamza, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Hamza is the last letter, and what does it have on it? Which sign? Is it a fatha? Is it a kasra? Is it a dhamma?
Kasra.
Yes, excellent. It has a kasra on it. So we learned in lesson number 21. Let me go back to that so you can understand that when a letter has a kasra underneath it, the last letter has a kasra, the kasra will change into a sukoon. So what we do over here is this kasra now becomes a sukoon. So you can see over here that this hamza now has a sukoon on it. Okay? And let me remind you that when hamza has a sukoon on it, you produce a slight jerk sound when you're joining the previous letter onto the hamza. Okay? So bearing that in mind, just try and say this if you can, otherwise I'll help you, okay?
Minna ba.
Well done, excellent. So this bit, when you're joining the ba to the hamza with the sukoon, you do so with producing a slight jerk sound when you say the hamza, okay? Ba. Can you say that? Ba.
Ba.
Well done. Minna ba.
Minna ba.
Well done. Excellent. Really, really good, mashallah, and 1296. Jazakumullah for your help. Okay, let me. Okay, So can we please have another student on the line?
A1202.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Is that A1202?
Yes.
Okay. So we will carry on with the fourth example now. So let me just okay. So we will do the example number 4. Okay. So now I want you to point out to me where you think the alif zada is.
Okay. Wala awza'u.
Well done. But I want you to first tell me where the alif zada is.
After the lam with the letter that has a X on it.
Yes. So this is the lam and it has a alif in front of it and it has a cross on it. So this alif is the alif zada. Well done. Okay. So that means that you do not pronounce the alif. So try once more without pronouncing the alif.
Yeah.
Go on.
Wala awza'u.
Well done. Excellent. Really, really good. Okay. So I think previously when you did it, you slightly elongated the la out for too long. Okay. Because this lam has simple fatha on it, and because you're not pronouncing the alif zada, this would only be said for 1 second. Wala. Okay. Wala awda'u.
Wala awza'u.
Well done. Excellent. Really, really good. Okay. So this is how you just pronounced it. Okay. So this alif after the lam. Well done. Okay. So this is how you would read it whilst you're reading continuity. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at how or what happens when you want to pause.
Yeah.
So we want to pause. So we look at the last letter with a sign on it. And which letter is the last letter with a sign on it?
The waw.
The waw. And what sign does it have on it?
Sukoon.
Sukoon. And what did we learn about when the last letter has a sukoon? Is there a change or does it stay the same?
It stays the same.
Excellent. Well done. Okay. So when the last letter has a sukoon on it, then that word doesn't change. Okay, it stays the same. So can you just read this again for us now?
Wala awza'u.
Okay. Make sure you stretch the O out again because of the waw madda. Okay. O.
Wala awza'u.
Well done. Okay. So the same pronunciation will stay the same. Okay. So this will be pronounced the same as this because it stays the same. There's no change in the word. Okay. Well done. Excellent. You read really well. Jazakumullah for your help. Can we have one more student?
Yes, our next student is N1306.
Jazakumullah. N1306. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Is that N1306?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will carry on. Go on to the fifth example. Can you point out where the alif zada is?
After the lam.
Excellent. So after the lam over here, this is the alif zada. So that means you do not pronounce this alif. So please start from here.
Mala'ihim.
Excellent. Mala'ihim.
Mala'ihim.
Well done. So this is how you just read it, okay? So you've taken the alif out after the lam and you would have written it like this, okay? So one more time.
Mala'ihim.
Excellent. Well done. Really, really good, okay? Now, we want to pause at the end. So what do? We look at the last letter and what does it have on it? What's this sign called? Over here, can you tell me?
I forgot what it's called.
Okay. It's called a sukoon. Okay? So this is called a sukoon. So when the last letter has a sukoon on it, when you're pausing, that sukoon remains a sukoon. Okay? There's no change in it. So you would read it just like you've read this. Okay? So when you're pausing, it's still going to be, read this now.
Mala'ihim.
Perfect. Well done. Okay. And just make sure that this is a hamza and not a ayn. Okay. So when you're reading it, pronounce it like an alif and not an ayn. Mala'ihim. Okay. Excellent. Well done. Jazakumullah. You read really well. Can you have another? Jazakumullah. Can you have another student, please?
Our next student is A1225.
Jazakumullah. 1225. Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to read this like you think it should be read. Okay, I think by now you should know where the alif zada is. So start from here.
لشيء
Okay, one more time.
لشيء
Excellent, well done, really good. Okay, so what you did there with the alif zada is this. Okay, after the sheen, this is the alif zada because it has a cross on it. So you ignore that and you straight away look at the sheen and then the ya with a sukoon on it. So this becomes a ya leen. So you say shay, and then at the end you have a hamza with a kasraten underneath it. So remember, when you read a tanween, you have to do so with a gunna sound for 2 seconds. Okay, so it would be in. Okay, well done. So let's look at this column. So what happens is this column shows you without this alif removed. Okay, so try again, but make sure you remember the gunna sound at the end.
لشيء
Gunna sound at the end. Remember that. Okay. In in.
لشيء.
Well done. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to draw your attention to. Wherever there's a tanween is a double stroke or fatha kasra or dhamma. That's where you have to produce a gunna sound for 2 seconds from your nose. So now we're looking at when we're pausing. Okay. When we're pausing, this tanween becomes a sukoon. Okay. Let's go back to lesson number 21. Tanween of look at this one. Tanween of kasra will change into sukoon. Okay. Any sort of tanween will turn into a sukoon. So this tanween will turn into a sukoon like this. So this is how you would read it. So can you try saying this now?
لشيء.
Good try, well done. Basically, when you say it, it's just a slight sound of at the end. Okay. Li shay.
لشيء.
Okay, but make sure that you have a slight hint of a hamza at the end. Okay, li shay.
لشيء.
Well done, much better. Okay, so when you have a hamza with a sukoon at the end and you're joining, you have a slight hint at the end of the hamza. Okay, just to remember that it's there. Okay, but other than that, well done. You did really well. Jazakumullah.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
can my sister have a go?
What's your sister's ID?
N1294.
Okay, we'll do N1294 now.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum Assalam. Okay, so I'm going to be doing example number 7 with you. So I want you to read it like you think it should be read, bearing in mind where the alif zada is and that it should not be pronounced. Okay, off you go.
لا إلى الجحيم.
Excellent. Well done. Really good. Okay, so what you did there is you looked at where the alif zada is, which is over here, alif with a cross, so that you shouldn't pronounce that. So this will simply be a la. Okay, ilal jahimi. So this is how you read it. Okay, la ilal jahimi.
لا إلى الجحيم.
Perfect. Excellent. Really good. Okay. Now we're looking at what happens when we're pausing at the end. So what happens over here? Can you spot the difference? What happens to this kasra? Can you remember? Or do you want me to help you out?
I think it turned into a Zama.
Not a dhamma, it turns into a sukoon. Okay? This over here is a sukoon. So what happens is that the last, you look at the last letter, which is a meme, and it has a kasra underneath it. So that kasra now turns into a sukoon. So instead of saying la ilal jahim, you're going to say la ilal jahim.
La ilal jahim.
Perfect. Excellent. Well done. Okay. Now just make sure that when you're saying this E, remember that this is a Hamza and not a Ain. So don't say La ilal. Okay. It's just La ilal. Just like an alif. La ilal jahim.
La ilal jahim.
Excellent. Well done. Very nicely read. Jazakumullah to both of you. Let's move on. Can you have another student now?
Our next student is A1239.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Okay, so we will move on to the next example. Example number 8. So can you read from here, bearing in mind where the alif zada is?
Salismu.
Okay, well done. Excellent. Okay, this alif would be a silent alif. Okay, so don't stretch this out. So bitsa lismu.
Salismu.
Perfect. Excellent. Well done. Okay, so you understood where the alif zada is, which is over here. You can see that after the lam, this alif is the alif zada because of the cross on it. Okay, so this is how you read it. Bitsa lismu.
Bitsa lismu.
Excellent. Now all together. Bitsa lismu.
Bitsa lismu.
Excellent. Well done. Really good. Okay. Now we want to pause over here. So we look at the last letter, which is a meme. And what does it have on it?
A dhamma.
Dhamma. Excellent. And a letter with a dhamma on it now turns into a sukoon. So this dhamma will now turn into a sukoon. So can you read this again?
Bitsa lism.
Perfect. Really, really good, mashallah. Okay. You read that really well. So what you do is just join the lam to the seen and then the seen to the meme. Listen like that. Okay. Bitsa list.
Bitsa lism.
Listen.
Listen.
Okay. Well done. Excellent. Really, really good, mashallah. A1239. Jazakumullah for your help.
Bakala.
Can we have another student, please?
Our next student is N1275.
Jazakumullah. Assalamu alaikum. N1275.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Okay, so we're going to go into the next example, which is example number 9. So can you read this, please?
La
Yeah,
an
yeah.
tum
Perfect. Now all together.
la antum
Well done. La antum.
la antum
Excellent. Well done. Okay. So you looked at where the alif zada is, which is after this lam. You see that this is alif with a cross on it. So this is the alif zada. So you read it like this, okay, without the alif. La antum.
la antum
Well done. Now, if I want to stop at the end, we look at the last letter, which is a meme, and we look at what sign it has on it, which is a sukoon. So this sukoon remains a sukoon when you want to pause as well. Okay? So wherever there's a sukoon on the last letter, that stays the same and remains a sukoon. So read this now again, please.
la antum
Okay, so same thing as before. You join the hamza to the noon. La antum.
la antum
Well done. Excellent. Really good. Okay, mashallah. Jazakumullah for your help. Now let's have another student now, please.
Our next student is A1214.
Walaikum salam. Is that A1214?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Just wait 1 second whilst I sort something out. Okay, so next example is example number 10. So I want you to read this now, please. Excellent. Well done. Really, really good. Okay. So I thought you might be confused a bit over here, but you didn't, which is really good to hear. So the alif zada is found after the G. You can see that this alif has a cross on it. Okay. So what you do is you look at the next letter, which is a ya with a sukoon on it, which makes this a ya madda, and then it has another madda on it. Okay. So that means that when you say this, you stretch it for around 2 seconds. G. Okay, that's how you pronounce it. Wajia. Excellent. Well done. Really, really good. Okay, so this is how you pronounce it without the alif zada. Okay, you can see that after the jeen, the kasra on it, it is a ya madda with another madda on top. So which means you have to stretch this for 2 seconds, around 3 seconds. So one more time for everybody now. Excellent. Well done. Really, really good. Okay. Now we want to pause at the end of this word. So what happens is we look at the last letter, which is Hamza. And what does it have on it? Fatha. And what happens to the fatha if you want to pause?
1 second.
Yes, but if you want to pause, what happens to the fatha? What does it turn into?
In a mother.
Not a madda, but a sukoon. Okay? When the last letter has a fatha on it, then that becomes a sukoon when you want to pause. Okay? So it becomes like this. So can you try this again now?
Waji.
Excellent. Well done. Really, really good. Okay? So, waji. Excellent. So a slight hint of the hamza at the end, but you don't actually pronounce it. Okay? Really, really good. MashaAllah, you did really well. Jazakumullah for your help. Can we have another student, please?
Our next Nasra is N1305.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. Is that N1305?
Yes.
Okay. So we will move on to the next example, which is example number 11 now. So please read this, bearing in mind where the alif zada is.
Malaihi.
Excellent. Well done. Really, really good. Okay. So the alif zada is found after the lam, alif with a cross, alif zada. Okay. So malaihi. Well done. Excellent. Okay. So now we want to pause at the end of it. What happens? We look at the last letter and we look at what sign it has on it. So can you tell me what sign this is?
Is it a dhamma?
No, it's not a dhamma. A dhamma looks like this. What's this? It's a vertical kasra. Yeah?
Yes.
Vertical, and it's found underneath a letter. So it's a kasra and it's vertical. So it's a vertical kasra. So vertical kasra also turns into a sukoon when you want to take a pause. So it becomes this. Okay? So can you try saying this now?
Malaihi.
Excellent. Well done. Really, really good, mashallah. Okay? So mala'ih. So a slight sound of the h at the end. Okay? Mala'ih. Well done. Really, really good. You read really well. Okay? Excellent. Jazakumullah for your help. And one, two, three. Can we have another student, please?
Our next student is A1228.
Walaikum salam. Is that A1228?
Yes.
Okay. So Example number 12 is the next one. We will start from here. So please read this, but remember where the alif zada is and make sure not to pronounce it.
Mi'atin.
Okay,
Tun.
well done. Yes, tun. Okay, the ta has a dhammatain on it. Okay, so tun, like that. Okay, so start again now.
Mi'atun.
Well done. So this hamza only has a fatha, so make sure you only say it for 1 second. Okay, just look at this. This is the example without the alif zada in it. Okay, mi'atun.
Mi'atun.
Well done. Excellent. Really good. Okay. Now we want to take a pause at the end. So we look at the last letter. We look at what sign it has on it, which is a dhammatain. So this dhammatain becomes a sukoon. Okay. So when the last letter has a tanween of dhamma, which in this case it does, the tanween of dhamma will change into sukoon. So over here you can see that this turns into a sukoon. So can you read this again?
Mi'ah.
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 Well done. Excellent. Really, really good. MashaAllah, you read that really well. Jazakumullah for your help. Can we have another student, please?
N1299.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum Assalam. Is that N1299?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to do the last example with you now. So I want you to start from here and remember where the alif zada is and make sure not to pronounce it.
Okay. Mi'ataini.
Well done. Make sure you stretch the tay sound out for a bit longer, okay? Mi'ataini.
Mi'ataini.
Well done. So this is how you're pronouncing it without.
Okay.
Okay. Now we want to pause at the end. So we look at the last letter and what sign
Yes.
does it have on it?
Kasra.
Well done. So what does that kasra turn into?
Ni.
But what does this kasra turn into when we want to take a pause?
Sukoon.
Sukoon. Excellent. Okay, so you can see that this kasra has now changed into a sukoon like over here. Okay, so try
Okay.
it again now.
Mi'ata.
Try again. So you same sound, say, but instead of saying the ni, you're just joining onto the just joining the ni sound at the end. Okay, so try again.
Mi'atain.
Well done. Excellent. Okay, so same sound,
Okay.
say, and then noon sound at the end. Sain.
Tain.
Mi'atain.
Mi'atain.
Well done. Excellent. Really, really good, mashallah. Okay.
Okay.
Jazakumullah.
Jazakallah. Hafiz.
Okay. So that was all the exercise completed. Mashallah, everybody did really, really well. I can see that you've all understood what alif zada is and how to recognize it, and then remembering not to pronounce it whilst you're reading. Okay. So it's really, really important that when you're reading the Holy Quran, which you will all inshallah do so, you have to remember that when you're reading and you see an alif with a cross on it, that means that it is an alif zada, and that means that you do not pronounce it. Okay. So mashallah, everybody did really well. Just one thing that I want everybody to also practice at home is the rules of waqf. Okay. So lesson number 21 is the rules of waqf lesson that you did, and you did that last week. So I can understand that you may have forgotten it, but you must be revising all your lessons that you've done previously, otherwise you will forget it and it will be difficult for you to apply those rules when you're reading. Okay, so it's very important because I can tell that a lot of students were finding it difficult to understand what happens when you want to take a pause. So make sure that you do go back to lesson number 21, which was the rules of waqf one, and you revise that. Okay. I'm quickly going to tell you your homework, and then I will also tell you about the opportunity for reciting Nazm in the final concluding session of this term. So your homework, first of all, is practice exercise 22.2. So that's the exercise you just done today, which was on miscellaneous rules of Alif Zeda when it is found in between the letter. Okay, so this is exercise 22.2. I want you to revise that. And also to help you, you can always go back to lesson number 21, in which you learned about the rules of Waqf. So what happens when you want to take a pause and how you take a pause. Okay? So practice exercise 22.2. This is your homework. Okay. Now regarding the PDF that I had displayed on before the class started, it was on the opportunity to read a nazm in the concluding session of this term's class. Okay, so on Friday, 21st December, inshallah, we will be having our concluding session on our Quran course this term, and for that, it is basically G1 and G2 class get together, and we have small presentations on how the term went and what you learned and how you found it. So that will be a great session. And also we have a guest speaker usually coming. So in the previous terms, we've had Imam Sahib coming and talking to us in the concluding session, which was really nice. So we will inshallah hope to have a guest speaker this time as well. And for that session, G2, a student from G2 usually does tilawat, and a student from G1 does nazm. So if you are interested and you think you want to read nazm in the concluding session on Friday, 21st December, what we'd like you to do is send us in a recording of you reading a nazm. Okay, so the nazm can be either Fazail Quran Majid, so it can be 4 to 5 couplets of this nazm, or Quran Sabse Acha, you can do 4 to 5 couplets of that. Okay, so these are the two nazms that you have to choose from, either Fazail Quran Majid or Quran Sabse Acha. So you choose 4 or 5 couplets from that nazm and you send us in a recording. So if you would like to participate, please send your recording to this email address. Okay, info@nqc.org.uk. Please ensure you write G1 Nazm submission in the subject box of the email, and in the body of the email, please ensure you include your student name and G1 ID. Okay, so please use the email you registered with us, and remember to write your name and your ID in the actual email. The deadline for this admission is Thursday, 13th of December by 9 p.m. So this is a really nice opportunity for anybody who likes reading nazms and you think that you'd like to participate in the final concluding session, to come up and send us in your recording, and we will inshallah choose a student to read a nazm for us in the final concluding session, which will take place on Friday, 21st December. Okay, so it's a really good opportunity. Please note down the 2 nazms that you can choose from, and send us in those recordings as quickly as you can. Okay, so I hope you've all written those details down, and I hope you've all written your homework down as well, which was to practice exercise 22.3. Sorry, 22.2. Okay, exercise 22.2. So we will end today's class now with a prayer from the Holy Quran once again. Can you please have a student on the line?
Our last Atfal for today's class is A1210.
Jazakumullah. A1210. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Okay. So we will finish off the class with this dua. So please repeat after me.
I'll do it myself.
Okay, off you go then.
Allahumma arhamni.
Okay, just read A'udhu Billah first.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم ارحمني بالقرآن العظيم.
Well done. Can you read the translation?
Oh Allah, have mercy on me through the great Quran.
Well done. And the next one.
واجعله لي إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة.
Well done. Just make sure, because you're pausing over here, this fatha then now becomes a sukoon. Okay? So it will be rahmah.
Rahmah.
Okay? So read this again, but rahmah at the end. Okay?
Okay. واجعله لي إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة.
Rahmah.
Rahmah.
Yeah, so this becomes a ha. Okay? So just
Okay.
that's how you read it. Okay? Well done. And translation, please.
And make it for me. The leader, the light, the guidance, and the mercy.
Well done. Excellent. Really nicely read. Jazakumullah to everybody for joining us in today's class. MashaAllah, you all did really well. But as always, make sure that you revise and you do your homework so that you're able to learn to the best of your abilities. Okay? Inshallah, see you all again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.